Hey guys, and welcome to the English Shooting weekly live stream. Hope you're all doing well. Hope some of you have managed to get out and go shooting. I know it's been a long time for some of you. So standard procedure, you all know what the deal is. Anything you want to talk about, any topics you want to discuss, any guns you want to talk about, any ranges you want to talk about, anything gun related and more. And of course, put everything in the comment section below, any questions you wanna get into. It's been a busy week here. Oh yeah, just it's a standard thing as I always do. Let me know how everything sounds, how everything looks. I've actually got some proper lighting for this week. I know last week was a little dark and dingy. I know a lot of you said that you liked the sound. If it's a little quiet, if it's a little loud, I might turn it up a little bit. Let me know. I'll try and give you the best viewing experience possible. But yeah, been a fairly busy week. It doesn't actually feel like it's been a week since last time we sort of sat down and had a discussion. So I look forward to it every week, but it's absolutely flown by. So yeah, been a busy boy. Lots of new things to talk about. Lots of new guns as well. The range has been fairly busy down here as well. People, customers, members of Team Blue Field Sports and stuff like that. So it's yeah, I don't know. And it was a rush for this evening as well. I thought I had plenty of time. I was busy working away. Looked at the time. I thought, oh crap, I've got to get ready, got to get set up. So unfortunately, I haven't actually made many notes for tonight. So it's going to be incredibly freestyle. I'm going to be relying on you guys to keep the questions coming in, keep the topics going. And of course, guys, if you are enjoying it, even if I am winging it most of the time, please hit that like button, share if there's anybody around that you think would enjoy this stream, share it to them, share it on Facebook, share it via Messenger, and we'll try and get as many people in here and have a good old chat. So yeah, questions away. Let me know what you want to talk about. I do have a few things lined up in the short amount of time I had for preparation. I do just need to say thank you to Stephen Wolfe. There's your pound of flesh. Have you seen Gangs of London? What do you think? Some good shooting scenes in there. No, I've not watched that at all. I mean, Gangs of London, I think, is that similar to Peaky Blinders? I really enjoyed Peaky Blinders. Watched that. Well, it's I've gone through all the seasons now, but it was one of those that I didn't sort of catch on to about, I think, season 3, and then absolutely binged it. So. But no, not seen Gangs of London. There's been a few shooting films come out recently. I think it was Extraction on Netflix. A lot of people making a lot of noise about that. Apparently that was a really good one. I haven't had a chance yet to watch it and see it, so I'll have to reserve judgment on that one. And my mum saying, I look gorgeous and sound gorgeous as always. What can you expect? That's motherly love, right? And well observed as well from my mum. Yes, we of course, if you hadn't guessed, in the Bluefield Sports gun room. So there are various guns laying about, unfortunately, because we are on YouTube and because of their policy. We can't be handling any of them, but I can potentially point and talk about them. Anything that you want to chat about, you want to get into. But yeah, let's see what you guys are saying. Well, let's see what topics you want to talk about, what questions you have, see if I can answer them. If I can't answer them, I'm sure somebody else will be able to, hopefully, because I don't profess to be a foremost expert in sort of anything really, jack of all trades. So seeing a lot of you have been shooting. Yeah, let me know what shooting you've been up to. I mean, I know it's fairly limited at the moment. I mean, Bisley is open under certain restrictions and procedures to obviously keep to social distancing. But yeah, if you've managed to get down to the range, whether that be a clay ground or a rifle range, let me know what you've been up to. We've been down the range quite a lot. I'm sure some of you have seen a few of the interesting guns that have come about. I'm actually, again, all of this week I've been thinking, oh, I'll spend a bit of time, I'll get some videos ready for you guys on the stream, and I've just completely failed. So I'm gonna have to do it on the fly. Let's kick it off with this. So I'm just gonna load it. You know what the drill is. I've got to load it up into the stream software. I'm running everything myself. Again, we're still not back to the full team. Obviously, Alex and Connor's in the past have helped me run the stream, and Connor's obviously features. We're still practicing social distancing and just down to my lonesome. So you're gonna have to bear with me whilst I try and figure everything out. But let's see if I can do this. Right, it shouldn't take 2 seconds. I'll bring this up and you can see what I'm talking about. So I put a post out on this. I'm sure you guys have seen that, where Otto from Cotswold Classic Arms very kindly came down and bought this. Is it going to work? Am I going to crash it all? Oh no, it worked perfectly. Brilliant. It's almost like I planned it. So this is the Amtrak Zenith in 2.2 long rifle. It is, of course, UK legal. I haven't left the cleaning rod in there. You can't actually see the rear rod as well, making it the full 24 inches in length. I've got another picture of it, a little bit of a better picture. That's just me posing. So let's get a better picture for you guys. Again, just got to add it into the software. Here we go, almost there. I do appreciate you all being very, very patient. So here it comes, almost got it. So there's a full shot of the Amtrak. So yeah, a UK legal, effectively a CZ, and luckily I was able to get hands-on with this gun. Very, very impressed. Of course, for anybody that doesn't know about our laws here in the UK, we have to have a minimum barrel length of 12 inches, hence the long barrel, and an overall length of 24 inches, hence the rod on the end. And I think this gun is absolutely gorgeous. Now, Amtrak, they are a established machining company that happen to make firearms, from what I can see on their website, but the fit and finish of this gun is absolutely superb. And it's little things for me, like the rod on the end, that's been finished to the same standard as the rest of the gun. So it's all quality all the way through. They haven't skimped, they haven't sort of cut corners. The rod can sometimes be a bit of an afterthought, and I'll switch back to me because I have a few long barrel pistols. So you can see probably the highest quality rod. You can just see the bottom of the Browning butt mark there. That's got actually a machined weight on it. The Walther PPQ there, that just looks like a bent piece of steel bar. The CIP22, that's I think it's a laser cut and then bent piece. But for the PPQ and for all of them, they do look like afterthoughts. And I know it seems very sort of minor and silly, but the fact that they've put the attention to detail into the rod, not that I actually like there being a rod, of course, but it just really finishes off the gun, and it was absolutely rapid. I did my usual test of some of the targets that we have down in the range, and the plate rack that we have down there, and a night and day difference to the Walther PPQ, and it's actually got me thinking. But I do have a full video on this gun that's going to be, well, I say a full video, I've got a video coming out on it, because a caveat to this gun is that it's actually still a prototype. So this is one of two, I think, in the country, and you know, Otto did caveat saying there are many changes to be made, and if you were able to see on that on the photo that I put up, I'll put it up one more time. It's actually a split slide construction, being a 2.2, removing all that weight. So you can just see a little line there in the slide, and it's a really sort of thin piece, and it was quite tricky to get onto. So you know, if you want to, you know, chamber around, you run dry, or you have a malfunction. But these are the sort of things that Otto's aware of and that he's changing. And Otto does actually appear here on the stream, well, not on the stream, but within the chat occasionally watching. So if he is here, hi Otto, and thanks for joining. And if you guys want to ask any questions that I don't know the answer to, then just fire away. But I have a feeling this could potentially be the long barrel pistol. In terms of its quality and construction and the trigger, it just even in a prototype state like that, it just blew the Walther PPQ out of the water for me. I still very, very much love the PPQ. I'm still, this is the only LVP that sort of tempted me away from the PPQ for, say, my competition gun here in the UK. But you know, it's very, very good. The trigger is light as anything, and it's pretty much competition ready. So I really think this is going to be the one. If you really want to go out there and win long barrel pistol competitions, you're probably going to have to go for something like this for the competitive advantage. The one big problem with this gun is the price. It's going to be around £1,800, which is what makes it one of, if not the most expensive long barrel pistol here in the UK. So that's going to put a lot of people off. But if you're going for the top spot, if you're going for competition wins, you know, becoming national champions or whatever, you need the best gear. And not forgetting that a CZ Shadow 2, which this gun is very, very close to. Otto says it's actually between the CZ Shadow 1 and the CZ Shadow 2, completely compatible with all sort of CZ upgrade and standard components. So you know, it's going to give you a lot of option to be able to really tune it and hone it into what you want to. But a CZ Shadow 2 is going to run you, I could only find the dollar price, because obviously we don't have them available here in the UK. But the dollar price, I think, was around $1,300, $1,400. You know, CZs are really high quality guns. They are, I would say, undoubtedly the best sort of handgun for competition out there for the IPSC circuit. A lot of the top level shooters shoot with them and are on Team CZ. So yeah, the price is going to put a lot of people off. I can understand that, and that's where the PPQ really can't be beaten. You can get into one for like £600-700, and whilst I think the Amtrak Zenith is a much higher quality gun and probably will give you better performance, you're looking at difference between, say, the £700 mark to £1,800. So is it really going to hold you back that much? Is the Amtrak Zenith really that much of a better gun? I mean, only time is going to tell. But Otto's actually coming down again on Monday. He's going to bring it down. Alex Florence is actually going to get to grips with it. He's the NRA standard handgun champion. So if he gives it the seal of approval, that's going to say something. And even Alex, who runs Blue Field Sports, he said he's definitely going to get some into the shop. So if you're looking to pick one up as soon as they drop, as soon as they're available to market, then you can either get in contact with Cotswold Classic Arms, or you can get in contact with Blue Field Sports. But yeah, that's sort of, I would say, the highlight of my week so far. There is actually one other thing that I will talk about briefly. It's going to be more of a magload. Well, there's two magload things I'm going to talk about. One Connors has said, please show as many people as possible. The other one is a bit of a big step in the company for us, but I'll get onto that in a bit. Let's see what you guys have been talking about. It's all about you guys. You know, I wanna answer your questions, so keep them coming in, and I will try and get through them as much as possible. And again, let me know how everything's looking, how everything's sounding, and I'll try and make it the best I can do. So Carl, hi Carl, welcome back to the stream. Thanks for joining. I've lost your comment. Where did it go? Disappeared into oblivion. You were saying about movies. Have I seen the movies Double Tap and Triple Tap? No, I know lots about them. I've seen them, well, mainly memes put out there, and I've seen highlight footage of it. Really, as a sort of competition IPSC shooter, you've got to watch them. It's all about IPSC. I did hear there was some some political issues, let's just say, with that movie and IPSC. I don't think IPSC were particularly happy about certain certain aspects of it. But yeah, I really should sit down and watch it. So you're talking about movies again. The most recent I say gun movie would have to be, I think it's Raid or The Raid, and I have to thank Alex Florence for showing me that. It's just an absolute non-stop action-packed film, and if you like guns, of course, if you're watching the stream, you probably do, then it's jam-packed full of all different types of guns. So Major Jim asking, well, we seem to be on a bit of a movie trend tonight. Best movie for shooting scenes. It's got to be John Wick, hasn't it? I don't think I've ever seen a shooting film where not only was the shooting action so good, but it was also so realistic, because they do tend to go either way in films. Either they go hyper realistic and then they make it really boring, because shooting is a fun sport, isn't it? But sometimes it can be hard to portray. I know I have that difficulty pretty much every single day when I go to film something. But yeah, John Wick, it just nails it on so many levels. They're real guns that you can actually buy off the shelf. He uses proper 3-gun / IPSC techniques for the most part. I mean, I've never seen a pencil on an IPSC stage. But yeah, I think the attention to detail, the accuracy, and the action within John Wick, for me, I think it undeniably makes it the best sort of gun movie. I'm sure there are others. I mean, I know it's not particularly full of guns, but obviously there is one absolutely awesome gun. Is it the Jackal with Bruce Willis? I mean, that's probably one of the best movie guns. Remote control. Anyway, that would make competition a little easier. Just don't hold a cigarette packet up to it, right? But yeah, what do you think? What are your guys' favourite shooting movies? I mean, technically, Die Hard. I mean, again, there's lots of guns with it. It's not particularly a gun movie. I mean, Die Hard is probably my favourite movie of all time. Certainly my favourite Christmas movie. And yes, it is a Christmas movie. It's held at Christmas time. There are Christmas decorations and there is Christmas music all the way through it. And I mean, ho ho ho! Now I have a machine gun. So, but I'm sure many of you, not many of you, disagree that it's a Christmas film. It's actually a bit of a tradition in my household. My mum and dad aren't huge shooters. They've been shooting a few times with me, but they've both been around guns. I think my dad was in the cadets, and my mum was my granddad's daughter, and it was my granddad that got me into shooting. So that sort of says it all. But we have to watch Die Hard 1 without fail before Christmas. Usually Christmas Eve. It's a bit of a tradition. Daniel Smell, hi Dan, how's it going? Mr. Crap Magnet himself has graced us with his pleasure, his presence with his pleasure. Oh, that's a completely other different thing, isn't it? Entirely. Let's not go down that road. It's too early in the stream. Maybe towards the end, but we'll try and keep it clean for now. Has Daddy arrived and asked for tribute? I did see Carl poke up. Stop encouraging the guy. Like, honestly, he's done more than enough. But yeah, good to see you, Kyle. Good to see that you've joined the stream once again. I honestly, you don't have to pay to be here. Just to clarify, this is free. But of course, guys, if you do want to support the channel, you can use super chats. I think there's even a PayPal button on the channel, Patreon, whatever. But like, shares, subscribed. That is more than enough support for me. Jerry McCann, I'm going to apply for an SGC, but was looking at the 1301 Comp Pro. Do you think it's a good gun for my first one? I know I'll need an FAC. I was going to say, if you're just getting the SGC, unfortunately they don't make a Section 2 1301 Comp Pro. We have a fairly good relationship with GMK, who are the UK importers of Beretta, Benelli, Seiko, Tikka, whole host of guns. And actually Beretta has a stake in GMK, so it's they're very well connected obviously with Beretta, and a lot of reliable information does come out of them. And they said that they will do special orders, so you could have a Section 2 1301 Comp Pro special ordered into the UK. Unfortunately, they take months and months and months for special orders. Now, usually when you talk special orders, I mean, again, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but there is a lovely matched pair of Beretta Jubilees. They're probably going to set you back around the £50,000 mark. So that's the usual special order thing. And when you're spending sort of £50,000 on a completely custom gun, you sort of expect it to take 6 or 12 months. If they can knock something like that out in a couple of weeks, you're going to probably wonder where all your money's going. But for a custom order for something like a 1301 Comp Pro, it's just not worth the wait. I would recommend, just as a bit of an option, if you haven't seen it, the Beretta Extrema, I think it is, might have, or Extrema 2 or something. I'm not too familiar. Apart from the 1301, I'm not hugely clued up on the semi-auto range of Beretta. It is identical. Actually, I'll just get the GMK website up so I can give you guys the exact information. Let's have a look here, because this is something that I found, it actually really annoyed me actually. So because obviously you guys, I don't have an FAC at the moment, which until I became a servant of Blue Field Sports really did prohibit me with the shooting that I was able to do. And is it the Extrema Plus, I think it is? If you happen to be on a desktop and you can open up another tab, go and I'll just get a photo. There we go. I'll do it properly. I forget how much flexibility you can have with the stream, but bear with me, because I'll show you this. And I think this is really, really cheeky of Beretta. Let's bring this up. Just got to load it into the software for you guys. Where are we going? Image. 2 seconds, almost there. Okay, let's just... Oh, it's a bit big. So, just playing around with the sizing of it. Come on. Almost there. Right, so this is the Beretta Extrema Plus, right? And you can see the RRP from 2025. Now, okay, that is the GMK recommended retail price, but it's you can usually get them a little bit cheaper. We all know that. So it's £2,025. The Beretta 1301 Comp Pro is £1,725. But look at the gun. Apart from the colour, it's pretty much identical to the 1301. And you actually get the 1301 Comp Pro. The receiver is exactly the same. And this is why I get really, really annoyed with the likes of the big companies like Beretta or Benelli or even Stoeger, although Stoeger is a little better at this. They say, oh, it's competition ready for IPSC competitions, right? Well, it's the same receiver between the two. So what makes the 1301 Comp Pro different in terms of the port cart? You can see that the bolt release is exactly the same. It doesn't have, I don't think, the same... No, it has the exact same charging handle by the looks of it. So you're paying £300 more. And so I guess you guys have had a proper look at it now, so I'll switch back to my beautiful face. So you're paying £300 more, and you're losing the lifter hold open. You're losing the extended tube. You're losing the barrel clamp, and I'm pretty sure there's other. I've got them both up here. That's just off the top of my head. You don't. Oh no, you get extended chokes. I think that's all the difference. But apart from that, it's exactly the same gun, and they're charging you they're charging you £300 more for less. And the reason they're doing this is because as we were saying, the 1301 Comp Pro doesn't come in Section 2. The Extrema Plus does. And what is the bigger market? So more people are going to be more willing to spend that premium for that gun. That, you know, supply and demand. There's a higher demand, so let's put the price up. And that doesn't really sit right with me, especially when the Beretta 1301 Comp Pro is, you know, a really big port cut, so you're ready for quad loading, and it's exactly the same as one of their field guns. However, rant over, a little bit of an option if you really did want to get a Section 2 1301 Comp Pro, and you don't mind setting, like, quite literally in this case, setting fire to money. Go and buy the Extrema Plus, and then upgrade it down the line. You can get a carbon fibre, a tube from Magload. You know, it's already got the same bolt release, the same safety. You can buy the upgraded lifter, so it will cost you more in the long run. And this is an option that I sort of explored. If Alex was able to get a demo model in a Section 2, then I would be able to shoot it, and then, you know, potentially go into well, no, you can't use an RFD gun in that manner, but it was a potential option whilst I was let's say further restricted, but I just couldn't stomach myself to give Beretta an extra £300 to get less, and then have to go and spend a couple of £100 to make it the same spec as the 1301. So anyway, that's an option if you don't care about money and you want to get a Section 2. Otherwise, you can get a custom order from Beretta, or just wait. But anyway, I think so yeah, I don't know. So you're asking if that's a good gun. I mean, I had the original 1301 Comp. I absolutely loved it. I am sort of swaying more to the Benelli M2. That's just because I think the 1301 Comp or Comp Pro are some of, if not the best guns out of the box. But for me, learning a bit more, and certainly being around Connors a lot more, he sort of drilled it into me that the Benelli M2 has a lot more potential. So if you're willing to spend the money, if you're willing to put the work in, then the M2 can be made to be a better gun overall. And again, a lot of the top level shooters out there use them. So, you know, the world champions out there tend to use Benellis. So the 1301 by no means is a bad gun. I mean, recent sponsored shooter of Magload, John Jennings, he was the first UK Beretta sponsored shooter. So, you know, he does very, very well with his 1301 Comp Pro. And he's been a Beretta man. He hasn't just switched to Beretta just because they've given him a gun and a sponsorship. He's had a Beretta 1301 since the original Comp. So yeah, you can't go wrong with them. There's a video on the channel, fairly recent one, where I compare gas versus inertia. That is something to consider. The pros and cons and both. Basically, the 1301 does require a lot of maintenance. You're going to have to keep it in the sweet spot of being clean. If it's too dirty, it won't run. If it's too clean, it won't run. That's what I found with mine anyway. But anyway, let's move away from the 1301. That was a very long segment, but I hope that was hope that was informative. I have a bit of a Russian roulette here, right? I'm going to share you my first world problems, right? I dropped one of these in the hurry over to the stream. I'm trying, like, this one to me looks a little bit more under pressure. Like, hit the record button now, guys, because this could be... What? There we go. Uneventful. I chose the right one. Let's put that one out of the way. I did it the other day as well. Alex Florence and Connors were down, and I had a 7-Up drop. I know, someone threw it at me, and I sort of, you know, tapped the top, cracked it, and I was like, oh, okay. And there was like a 2-second delay, and it covered me. Anyway, let's talk less about our main sponsor, Pepsi Max, this evening. So Carl Fisher saying, went to Bisley, was lovely and quiet, just have to book in advance. Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, a silver lining of everything that's going on at the moment, is that you know, the ranges that are open, very few people are going to be there. I was expecting queues out the door for Bisley. Everyone that has been waiting to sort of dust off their guns and get to it. So, I mean, it's nice. I mean, it's been fairly nice weather. I mean, yesterday was a bit dreary. Today it was threatening rain, but it was fairly nice. It was quite cool today, which I appreciated. I've been absolutely sweating my knackers off for the last week with the heat, especially that we're in effectively a metal box where our office is. So Stephen Wolf saying you can now be together with 3 other people indoors. Oh, okay, indoors. So, okay. I haven't seen that. I will have to go and confirm that. Not saying that I don't believe you, but just got to make sure about these things. So 3 people indoors, and of course we're allowed 6 people outdoors. That's why we've been able to get a number of people down the range for the first time. So 3 people indoors, that definitely works for live stream. I mean, this is I hate referring to English shooting as a business, but it is sort of my business. I mean, it's certainly not apart from the last few weeks from Carl, it's certainly, you know, in terms of income, but it doesn't really generate a huge amount of income, and everything, as I always say, gets put back into the channel for new gear. Hence why I sound better this week like I did last week. The lights we already had, I just was too lazy last week to get them. But yeah, so, you know, it is. I would class English shooting as part of my job because it obviously ties in with what we do with Magload and Blue Field Sports, and some things just don't work if I don't have English shooting. So you are allowed. I believe, I'm not recommending it, but I believe that for work purposes, you're allowed to sort of not break lockdown rules, but there's certain exemptions or allowances. So, you know, I think we could justify it as it was. We didn't want to. I think it sends the wrong message, and, you know, God knows what Connors has. It's not coronavirus, that's for sure, but God knows what else he has, and maybe giving him a bit of distance for a while is going to be good. I felt really healthy recently all of a sudden, giving a bit more distance to Connors. Strange that. But no, I love him. So yeah, maybe next week is the week we get everyone back in here. We go back to the original. I mean, personally, I prefer this backdrop. I prefer it on my lonesome in here, because when we do it with Connors, we have to go to the other side, which is like Woodstock Central. So, you all know I like the black practical guns. That's my jam. That's really really what I like. But I'm sure you guys want maybe a little bit more variety. Maybe you guys are getting a little bit bored of me over these past few weeks just on my lonesome. So Callum 95, awesome gun, awesome name, of course, spelt correctly. Shot your first single shot .45 cal percussion cap Kentucky pistol yesterday. It was a lot more fun than I had first thought. What's your opinion on shooting old style black pistols like that? I mean, like, I could grab. There's a gun. Oh, I'm not even going to risk it, because I could technically go and get a gun without handling it because it's in a box. I absolutely love black powder pistols. I intend on getting some for my FAC when I apply for my FAC, when I get my FAC, whatever. And I'll do my weekly Hampshire check and see if they're open. If they are, I might have to finish early and get submitting. But I love black powder pistol. I shot one the very first time, literally the day I found out about shooting sports in the UK. The club had a black powder pistol, and they got it out because there was a few other new members at the time, and they thought, well, let's get the fireworks out. And actually, come to think of it, I think it was the first video I ever put up on English Shooting. And I think it's literally like a 20-second clip. Let's see if I can find it. Unless I took it down because it's so horrendously bad. No, it's still up there. Let me get the link. I'll put it in the comment section. I mean, I could download it and show it to you. Why don't I just download it? There we go. I can probably do that pretty quickly because it's small video. Download video, paste. You have to bear with me more with this one. There's a bit more to it, but it shouldn't take too long. oh, instant download. I forget how fast the Wi-Fi is here. Let's show that in Finder. Put that on the desktop. So a caveat: I haven't watched this video in probably about 3 or 4 years. Let's. I don't know how good it's going to be. It's probably awful, but let's get this up and I'll show you guys. So this is literally the first time I'd ever been down a range. First time I'd found out about shooting, and they introduced me to something like this, which is basically a handheld firework. But I absolutely love black powder. I love the process of it. It's also why I want to get into the Ann and West lakes, because I know technically they're technically black powder under the same sort of law and licensing, but I like the process of it. It's there's more to it. Instead of just going down the range and just loading up a magazine and blah 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 blah, it's, you know, you've got to load everything, and it really makes you savor it all, and really does slow you down. So let's see if I can get this to work. Put it in here. So apologies, I don't know what this is going to be like. Is that working? This might not work. Oh, I'm very nervous. Let's just see. No, that's a fail. That's an absolute fail. I don't know. I'll leave it then. I'll put the link in all that build up and for absolutely nothing. But I'll put a link in the messenger so you guys can go and watch that. It just, yeah, I really like them. I don't think maybe I'll get into competitive black powder shooting, but I certainly like more the historical aspect to it. It's really annoyed me that hasn't worked. I mean, the video comes up. Why isn't that working? Okay. No, okay, I'll give up on that. So yeah, I like them. I think, you know, certainly the more shooting I do, the longer that I end up being in this amazing community and or even in the trade now, you can get bored. I know it sounds crazy, but you can get bored. You know, it's more and more people come in. They're like, "Oh, do you want to go to the range and shoot this gun?" And you're like, "I've shot that like 50,000 times, or, you know, or I've been up there." I always enjoy shooting. A bad day down the range is better than a good day at work. How does that work how does that work if your work is shooting? I don't know. But I like the variety of shooting. There's loads of different disciplines, loads of different style of guns, and the black powder just keeps that, you know, sort of intrigue up, really, and you can learn some really fascinating facts about historical guns and how guns have developed over the years, which I do really enjoy. Daniel, are you talking about investing? This is not an investing channel. See, that's interesting. I just seen your comment, Carl, about the about 1,800 quid being reasonable, and that to me, like, I could tell you I can tell you're an IPSC shooter, because you're like, wait, 1,800 quid for an IPSC handgun? Yeah, gimme. I mean, of course, you know, like 1911s, like the Bull Armories, I think it is. The 2011s, even, not 1911s, but, you know, the real high-end, like STIs, or they've changed their name, haven't they, recently, I think? But they, you know, they can cost anywhere between £2,000 to like £5,000, you know. So yeah, we'll basically, if you think it's, let's get the framing right on that one, just shift over a little bit. So yeah, if like £1,800 is too expensive, you probably don't need it. You know, I think that's going to be a lot of the case for people. There's people that are going to scoff their nose, and they're probably going to go for something like a GSG 1911, be perfectly happy with it. But if you're going to go for that top level, you're going to want the best. Oh, loads of opinions on the best shooting movies. Although Stephen Wolf has come up with 3: The Way of the Guns, City of Thieves, Leon. don't think I've actually seen any of those. Leon, I think I might have seen. Heat I saw years and years ago. I can't actually remember what happens. It's probably one to add to the list to watch again. Black Hawk Down, of course. I mean, that's more, more military. I know, obviously, guns, but I prefer. I mean, that's why I like the John Wick. It's hardcore, hardcore shooting, but it's not in a military scenario. I mean, I don't, I guess, how can I forget it? And I don't think any of you have said it. Shooter. No, American, not shooter. Well, yeah, shooter. Yeah, one person said it. American Sniper. That could be arguably one of the best sort of gun films, because it's that is all about the guns really. And again, that one that is obviously based on some tragic real life events, but the accuracy in that film to the events, but also the guns and how everything is done, again, is one that I think is quite impressive. Just catching up. John Fuller, Keanu Reeves was trained by Navy SEAL Sean Ryan for some shooting scenes. He was also trained by the Keeper of the Precious, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure some of you will get that joke. And actually, John, I think, yeah. If by coincidence, if it happens to be somebody else, but John, I think we have a date tomorrow, don't we? I have a John Fuller booked in to come down, and I believe you're picking up a tricked out Smith & Wesson 1522, if memory serves me right. So hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If you just happen to share names with the guy that's coming tomorrow, then that's a hell of a coincidence. But yeah, that should be fun. It is all ready for you. And actually, a nice segue. Into something else. Talking about 1522s and upgrades. So you'll see that my gun is actually missing from the wall. And that's because it's being worked on, and it is the Smith & Wesson 1522 I bought all those years ago. It did come with the quad rail, so that it was the Gen 1 that came with this quad rail. The Gen 2s, the Sports, I think they're known as, which is what I think Alex's and Connor's were. They come with a much slimmer, smaller one, which I think most people prefer. And I ended up putting, I've grabbed the wrong one. Bear with me. I thought I'd grab the right one. I've grabbed the wrong one. I will be 2 seconds, but it's... Sorry, guys. Right, there we go. Connor's hid it from me, so I grabbed... Again, it was a mad rush, absolute mad rush to get here on, to get the stream up and everything. I was a little late, actually. So that's what I originally had. The quad rail on the original 1522. Where should I put it? Over here. And then we upgraded it. Very much thanks to Alex here at Bluefield Sports. This is not going well at all. Should I just stop now and go home? Sorry, headphone users. So this is the Black Rifle. Well, I think it's made by somebody else, but I believe Black Rifle were very instrumental in having it made. And I think it's a great improvement, certainly over the old quad rail. It is thinner, but I did still find it a little bit too chunky. And something that Connors has been talking about for a while is this. Where is it? His mag load. So that is a custom mag load handguard, and I've been nagging him for probably like near a year now. Like, when are you actually going to release it as a product? When are you going to finalise it? So I've dragged him over the finish line, and the reason that my Smith isn't up there is because we were test fitting this. So this is the first. Well, it's still sort of a prototype, but we're really happy with the end result. And yeah, it's pretty much ready. There's a couple of bits, obviously like tools and stuff like that, that are going to be included, but it is incredibly light. Even the black rifle, which I still think is a really high quality upgrade, really can't go wrong with it. But it does use aluminium ends, so to secure it to the gun, and also there, and it does add a little bit of weight to it. I think it's like 100 and 200, no, 100 and something. I don't know. I can't remember. We weighed them all earlier, and I completely forgot. If I'd have been more prepared, I would have written them down, but I can't. But this, the Maglo, this is the 11-inch version. There is going to be a 15-inch version because, of course, I've had my barrel chopped down to 12 inches. So I've gone for the 10-inch. This is 96 grams. It's carbon fiber tube completely, and it's got the sort of 3D printed nylon 12 end, and also the nut. Now, I'm sure many of you are going to go up and go, oh, 3D printed on a fore end. Well, Connors has had that for months and months and months and months. He's done loads of competitions with it, thrown it around, had no problems with it whatsoever. So it's been rigorously tested. And of course, you've got your M-LOK slots, and it will come with a variant where you can just have it completely smooth, just like it is on Connors there for the moment. But yeah, I mean, of course, massive plug for Magload. It's not currently available to buy. If you do really want one, drop an email to info@magload.co.uk, and we'll either put you on, say, a waiting list, or let you know as soon as they do become available. But obviously, plugging Magload, but also I'm genuinely excited to put it on my gun. So just as a comparison as well, in terms of the size difference, so you can see that the Magload one is a lot slimmer, a lot less chunky, and also well, probably even, I think it's like a good 50% lighter. There's definitely a noticeable weight difference, which actually at the front of the gun does make a difference if you're doing something like speed stills or mini rifle, you're shot to shot. But yeah, I don't want to say poo-poo black rifles, because this has been on my gun for probably well over a year as well. But probably for sale. So anyone looking for one of these, there's one here spare at Bluefield Sports. But yeah, so an upgrade for my 15-22, and it's for me like the perfect size. You all know I've got diddy hands, and that's why for like normal people, normal sized hands, this is going to be no problem whatsoever. But this really does fit me better. I actually really like the Gen 2 Sport handguard that comes as standard on them, as opposed to this, because this is really chunky. But this is probably around the same diameter, around the same size as the one that comes on the 15-22. So being carbon fiber, you're getting that sort of same shape, but a lot less weight. So there you go, a little update on my 15-22. There is a picture if you want to see it on the gun, because Connors took it all off to weigh. If you go over to the Magload Facebook page, you can actually see it on my rifle on there, with some rail scales very kindly supplied by Daniel Smerald. Although I say supplied, he's only lent them to me. He's not given them to me. What are you going on about 50? Oh, for the shotguns. We're talking about the shotguns. And Carl wants to buy a new car and house first. Dying to buy a helicopter, to be honest. What do you do for a job? Oh yes, I haven't bought a helicopter in a while. Maybe I should go and buy them. You also need to save up for American shooting trips as well, Carl. Don't forget that. And just because David says that the shooting package is £999, and that does more than cover you for the week, there will be lots of guns lying around and lots of additional ammunition that you can buy. So whatever you think you need to bring in ammo money, like additional ammo money, like double or triple it. Because when everything's there, and when someone turns up with like an MP5 or a full auto AR-15, that's when you really need to be buying extra ammunition, that's for sure. Carl, also, well, first of all, David got in there a little bit first. What have you missed? Me just basically messing everything up as usual, David. Pretty much being unprepared, not ready, winging it. Seems to be going okay, mostly. Did nearly almost douse myself in Pepsi, although I'm sure some people would pay for that even. But Carl, what modifications are we allowed to make to our own gun? Say if we wanted a different charging handle or stock, are we allowed to do it ourselves, or does it legally have to be done by a gunsmith? I'm pretty sure every modification is legal for the gun owner. It's just whether you're brave enough to try to go to a gunsmith. But stuff like a charging handle on a shotgun, really simple. You literally, on some of them you don't even need to get it into the right place, but usually you have to sort of depress the bolt head a little bit and then you just yank them out. Usually on a brand new gun you have to use quite a lot of force, but usually once you've got it out once, it goes in fairly easily. And you know, all those other things you're saying, you know, charging handle, stock. I mean, stock's absolutely no problem there. There is a little bit of a debate with the long barrel pistols. And I don't think this really is an issue, but some people are concerned about it. So there are some companies that will replace the rod that comes on standard with a carbon fiber rod. And obviously what they have to do is cut or remove the original rod, and a lot of people says, oh well, you're making it section 5, and personally I disagree. It would actually be good to get an expert on it. Maybe we could drop an email to the guy that we always bounce ideas off of and questions off of, but it's for me it's part of maintenance. You know, if you take a shotgun out of you take the stock off of a shotgun and it doesn't conform to the minimum lengths, does that make it section 5? Well, no, because you're maintaining the gun. It's part of the service and maintenance of that gun. Now, I've heard some people going as far as actually like screwing an extender onto the barrel so that at all times the gun is UK compliant. But it all, at the end of the day, it all comes down to intent. So, you know, if you're changing the rod yourself, and again, I wouldn't advise doing it because I'm not 100% sure, but if you're changing the rod yourself and the police bust in and find you with this gun that's effectively section 5 because of the length, because you've got the saw there, the carbon fiber rod, and the glue or the araldite or whatever you're going to bond it. Well, any jury, you know, that have half a brain, you explain to them it's a common modification to lighten the rod, to remove a bit of weight from the gun, and I had all of the things here to do it. You know, yeah, if they bust into your bedroom and or your shed, why would you be doing it in your bedroom? Your workshop, let's say, and you've literally got the gun and a hacksaw and the rod off of there, that's going to be a bit hard to defend. But if you've got the carbon fiber and obviously all the glue there, and it's quite obvious that your intention is to just replace a part, I can't see any issue with that. You never know how it's going to go when you go to court. Trust me, you never know how it's going to go when you go to court. But yeah, that's one that's sort of up to debate. But for AR-15s, for shotguns, for any rifles like that, replacing the stock on them is really not an issue. And again, I'm not aware of any modifications that are, as long as obviously the modification is within the law. There's nothing that is restricted to just a firearms dealer. So yeah, you've sort of got free reign. I mean, there is one caveat on that, which is if you cut down your barrel, if you do any significant modifications that could potentially compromise the safety of the gun, so like cutting down the barrel, doing anything to the breech, or the chamber or stuff like that, or even the bolt face, then it would have to be reproofed. So I don't know the whole list of modifications that require reproofing, but certainly a common modification is obviously cutting down the barrels on a 1522. And as soon as you remove anything from the barrel, to be able to sell it to somebody else, you need to have it reproofed. So this is the really weird thing, is that as the current owner, if you cut down the barrel and you decide that it's safe and you go out and you shoot it, it's still completely legal. I would advise going and having it reproofed, because you don't want to find out there's something wrong with it when there's something wrong with it. But to sell it, to be able to sell it to somebody else, you would have to have it reproofed. I believe you could sell it to an RFD, you could trade it in, and that's not a problem, but certainly before the RFD sends it to somebody else, they would have to make sure it's proofed. And that's why they tend to now put proofing marks at the end of the barrel. I have seen a lot towards the breech of the barrel, and of course, if you cut the barrel down, you're never going to know how long it originally was. So that's why they will tend to put a mark on the end of the barrel, just so in case you cut something down, you can see that obviously the proof mark has been removed and therefore need to get it reproofed. And again, I mean, loads of people seem to be answering it. So, but yeah, you can change the trigger pull weight. Again, that is something that you should be very, very careful of. It's perfectly within the capabilities of most shooters. I wouldn't say you have to go to a gun shop to do it, but when you're dealing with anything, with your safety, with your trigger, make sure you test it to within an inch of its life. You know, yes, the golden rules of shooting, but at the end of the day, if you have a trigger that maybe sets off by itself, like I know a few 700s used to, that could cause a big danger. But then again, that's why we have the golden rules of shooting, because that gun should never be pointed at anyone. You technically, in theory, as long as you are abiding by the rules, or of course, you know, keep your finger off the trigger until it's ready. But if you're keeping your finger off and the gun goes off accidentally, as long as you're abiding by all the golden rules, no one should ever get hurt. But you know, you just want to make absolutely sure, maybe do some, like, not drop tests, but sort of, if you're playing around with the trigger, you know, hit the stock onto the floor and see if it goes off. Tests like that, you know, knock it, sort of shake it about, and be absolutely confident that that trigger is in any way compromised. Now, when you say, can you change the trigger weight or the trigger pull weight, some triggers, certainly on aftermarket AR-15 triggers, they have adjustment screws built in. So there is usually a safety net where the manufacturer won't let you make the trigger, say, too dangerous. But if you're sort of doing it by polishing and sort of actual I'd say, well, what's the work? Like, you know, it's not a screw adjustment, it's like a physical adjustment and modification of the trigger. That's certainly where you need to be careful, and just make sure that there's no way of that trigger going off. I'm trying to get the mic maybe a little bit closer. I don't know how's the fan noise going this evening. Is it better? And I think Carl said the fan noise was better, but really I should have like the mic here. Let's not do that with my hands. That's one of the things that's on my Amazon list. So of course I bought this Focusrite USB to XLR to USB interface. That's why the audio is a little bit better. But I think I've decided I want to buy the absolute pucker Shure live stream mic. Unfortunately, they're like 300-400 quid, but you guys have treated me very well, so I can only try and make my voice as best as possible. Oh, it's the NHS clap, but I think is it over? Is the clap over? Should I just give a little clap just to cover my bets? But I think that's over. If you're not from the UK and you aren't wondering what we're doing, basically for the last few weeks, well, few months now, every Thursday we've been giving the NHS a clap. So, but I think last week was the last one. So maybe I should. No, I'll leave it. Worst case, I'm wrong, and I'll leave it on there so I don't forget next week. Stephen Wolf, given more distance from Connors, you do know this is recorded, lol. If he sees this, I say far worse to him to his face. Actually, we toned down the abuse. Believe it or not, we toned down the abuse for the streams. If we like just lifted the censorship, this channel wouldn't last long. That's for sure. We give each other crap all day long without fail, and I wouldn't Wouldn't want it any other way. It's what keeps me on my toes. Roland Dodo, do you not think it's a bit over the top how someone like yourself, who knows what he's talking about, well, I'm glad I've managed to fool you on that one, can't handle a firearm to talk about it? Yeah, it's madness. I did get in contact with YouTube and say, like, look, we're in a registered licensed gun shop. You know, you can see throughout all of my videos, I don't ever do anything reckless or silly on on the channel with guns. Everything's above board. Everything is safe. And at the end of the day, it's for education. I'm trying to educate people and show people what the real side is. YouTube have an absolute zero tolerance to it. Hopefully one day they will see sense. But at the end of the day, like, what is it stopping? I know that the horrendous acts out in New Zealand, they were live streamed. I can't remember if they were actually done on YouTube or not, but and I'm going to say this as purely a a scenario that is never going to happen, to make that absolutely clear. But if I suddenly went postal now, like, is there someone from YouTube watching that's just going to pull the stream? No. If I just, if this was on a high street and I decided to just walk out the front door and go postal, they're not going to be able to react in time. So yet again, the only people that get sort of hindered or have basically get kicked in the dick are the people that want to abide by the law. If I was some mass murdering lunatic, am I really gonna, like, this is what I've always said, like, am I really gonna go, oh, I'm gonna live stream a mass shooting? Oh wait, oh no, YouTube says I can't live stream it. Whoops, can't do it now. Like these are people that are, they want to go and kill as many people as possible. Why are they gonna ever think twice about YouTube's policies? And again, no one can identify, like, there's guns in this image. If there was some auto bot that could pick up a gun and shut down the stream would be shut down. So it's absolutely solved nothing. It only hurts the law-abiding, the sensible people. And yeah, it does really wind me up. And it is very much over the top. Yes, what happened in New Zealand was absolutely horrific. And of course, everyone would want to do something to prevent that. Everything possible. But stopping people from handling guns on live streams, like, really? Like, again, it's just, they're just doing it so that they can be seen to be doing something. Just so if somebody else live streams on YouTube a mass shooting, they can put their hands up and go, well, look at our policies. We've told people they can't do this. Well, yeah, of course they can't do it. Oh, it's just, yeah. I'll try and, shall I? Maybe you guys like the rants. I don't know. But I'll try and keep cool. I do have a really ranty one later on. I'll try and space out the rants. I'm sure you guys saw the Times article on English shooting that I posted. Anyway, let's see what you guys are talking about and keep it a little bit more positive. Stephen Wolf, did you see that Demolition Ranch video where he fires a tank at some gun safe? It was amazing. He catches the slowed down projectile on camera. Yeah, I've seen that video. I also watched the one with the mortar and the teddy bear. The guy's nuts. But yeah, absolutely incredible. He does some really cool stuff. I mean, we would love to do stuff like that here. We're just not entirely sure that Hampshire Firearms are going to necessarily agree. But if there's a way we could do some really cool stuff like that legally in the UK, I'd definitely be all for it. That's for sure. DATV, if I email you, can you please send the information about creating your own range? Yeah, I mean, it will only just be links to maybe some web pages or some books, but we can certainly point you in the right direction. and Alex is going to hate me for saying this, but he's more clued up on it, and he knows what books to look at and what documents you need. So if you want to drop an email to rfd@blue.co.uk, no, let's start that again, rfd@blue.uk.com, then send an email to that, or EnglishShooting@gmail.com, whichever is easier to remember, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. Yeah, so you guys are saying about the SDI change. I am a little out of sync with you guys. We have been jabbering too much. But I believe if you search the new name for STI in the Urban Dictionary, yeah, they didn't pick the best name to change. Let's just leave it at that. Are there any pistols specifically designed with UK regs in mind? The extended barrel, extended tail things never particularly attracted me. No, there's no one that, well, there's no one that under their own free, or maybe GSG, but basically usually what happens with the long barrel pistols is it takes somebody, usually with a lot of time and usually with a lot of money, to go to one of the big manufacturers and say, look, I want to buy 100 of these. The thing is, these big companies like Walther, like GSG, like Browning, like CZ even, the UK market isn't big enough for them. I mean, there's been overall, I think, around 200 PPQs brought into the UK. I mean, that's a decent amount of guns, but to a company like Walther, it's nothing. So unless you're going to go to them and say, I want to buy 100 guns, it's not worth them really investing into. I mean, GSG might be the only exception to that, because, and I don't know the real backstory to the Mark II, but I know the Mark I was built and constructed at the tunnel. So it was the tunnel that went out to GSG, bought all the components, found a long barrel. Usually it's a local Walther. That's what most of the LBPs seem to use. Put their own rod on it and made it UK legal. And I don't know what happened next, and I have a feeling that maybe GSG, they saw the numbers that the tunnel was ordering, they saw the popularity and realised that there's actually a fair sized market maybe, or a market certainly worth their while, which is why they then developed the Mark II, which was a much better gun overall, sort of fit and finished at the factory. So I mean, the Walther PPQ is made as a long barrel pistol in the factory. There isn't a GSG on the wall, but the GSG Mark II is made completely at the factory. The Amtrak Zenith that we were talking about earlier, that is completely made. That's something I think I forgot to say as well. That is completely made by Amtrak, and but I know that it's Otto that has gone out to Amtrak to get them to do it, and there's minimum order quantities, and that's part of the reason it is so expensive. I know it was Phil Nicholson of Oceana Defence that ended up going to Walther and basically saying, I'll buy 100 of these. So yeah, no one really makes it with it in mind unless you specifically go to them and buy the minimum order quantities that really make it worth their while. Carl Volt, in Norway you can get a Shadow 2 belt and holster for 1800 quid, and it's a gun that can take you to the top. I'd say that's pretty reasonable compared to 500 Glock and 5k in upgrades. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's all relative. Guns. I made this video, fairly recently about are cheap guns good or something like that, and really you can get so far with a cheap gun. You don't have to go out there and spend a lot of money, and naturally for the majority of shooters you don't need to until you really are like knocking in the top 10, 5, 1% in the competitions. you don't have to really worry about the gear, because there are far bigger gains to be made in your own training, in your own drilling. It's very much the same with cars as well. You know, when people go out and, you know, they get a track car to begin with, and all they focus on is putting bigger brakes on it, more horsepower, turbocharging, supercharging, roll cage, stiffer this, you know, harder that, souped up whatever. And actually, time and time again, it's been proven that spending less money on instruction will gain you far more time, or reduce far more time on the track. And the same is exactly the same is exactly true for shooting. Until you reach that sort of top 10%, you are far better spending more money on training and ammo and, you know, rounds down range and instruction and coaching. But yeah, if you're going for that top 10, 5, 1%, then that's when you have to sort of put the money in, and that's where these guns start to become, you know, for that top 10%, it's not, you know, they don't complain about it. And the best comparison for me is actually the Dissident Arms KL12. To land one here in the UK with everything paid off, you're going to be looking anywhere in the region of £5,000 to £7,000 for a box-fed shotgun. But it is undoubtedly the best box-fed shotgun you can buy off the shelf. And for people like, again, Magload sponsored shooter Ben Ducker, somebody that is going for the top. He won the UK PSA Open division in practical shotgun the year just gone, and, you know, he shoots on the international circuit to a very, very high standard. You know, for him to go and spend £6,000 on a gun because he's going for that top spot, you know, he can't put a price on that. If he's got the money, he's going to spend it because he wants that top spot. If you're, you know, lower pack, mid pack, for the short term starting out, don't worry so much about what you spend on your guns, but certainly the more skill you have, the more the gun is then going to start holding you back. You know, it's really funny. You get a new shooter and they pick up a gun. They go, "Oh, the gun's rubbish." No, it's not the gun. You know, any new shooter, like, no new shooter is ever going to be held back by the gun. That's for sure. There's so much more to work, unless you're shooting a Hatsan, of course. Then moving on. Dennis Sparrow, never found the appeal of lightness in race guns. That's because you're not a competitor. You're a mid-pack at best, mate. Always go for the heavier platform to mimic that full AR weight. Daniel. Christ, the amount of kit you have of mine, you could build a new AR. Maybe 2 or 3, actually. This whole lightness debate, this always comes back to the 1522 of people saying, "Oh, I don't like it because it's light." But you want lightness. Like, you say, oh, you know, everyone, oh, I want to mimic the real AR-15s. But if you ever go to an IPSC rifle match or a shotgun match, a rifle match or a 3-gun match out in the States, let's just say, they do everything to remove weight. Like, they put stupid amounts of cuts in the gun, in the upper and the lower, to shave even the, you know, there's just single grams of weight off of their gun. And we're over here in the UK, and most people going, "Oh, I don't want the Smith because I want it to be heavy," and guys out in the States are like, "What? Why do you want you know, a practical gun to be heavy?" I mean, I can see some benefits to it. For me, for stuff like speed stills and mini rifle, like, yeah, it's about accuracy as well. The weight of the gun for me doesn't overall negatively affect the accuracy, but the speed you can make up because of how light those guns are. That, you know, that's why Connors develops bits like this. You know, you might, I think we weighed this in at around, let's say, I think it was like 200 grams, and this was 96. And you're thinking the difference of 100 grams, but it's an accumulative effect. You save 100 grams here, 50 grams there, 10 here, 10 there. It all adds up to making the gun extremely rapid, extremely easy to point, easy to get on target, and that's when you start really shaving the seconds off. You know, funnily enough, having shot the Amtrak is very, very heavy. And that's something that I personally really like about the PPQ is how light and nimble I feel with it.
but the Amtrak, the weight does make you shoot smoother. So I found on the plate rack with the PPQ, you really do need to get set and get your grip and really hold it. Because otherwise, where it's so light, you tend to sort of, waft about or jerk about. With the Amtrak, where it has quite a bit of weight to it, you find yourself just on an absolute, like, it doesn't sort of matter, those micro movements in your hand, the gun tends to soak up. So I can understand the benefits, certainly on a handgun, to having a bit more weight. Certainly with 9mm, having more weight in the gun and reducing that felt recoil, you're going to have more control over it. I can see the benefits. For a mini rifle, I really don't know why people obsess about guns being lightweight. Either you're going for a competition gun, which in my mind for mini rifle you want it as light as possible, or you're going for a replica. And there's no harm in either. If someone just wants a 2.2 plinker, but they want it to feel like the AR, absolutely fine by me. But if you're going to stand there and say that it makes it a better competition gun because it's heavy for mini rifle or speed stills, I'm going to have to disagree with you. That's and obviously Daniel, you're a mid pack. Oh, we're getting on dangerous ground there, Stephen. Did you see the videos or pics of people in the US protecting their neighborhoods and businesses? Yes, unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you're all aware of what's going on in the USA at the moment with the Black Lives Matter and the protests or riots. Don't call them like protests. Like, they're not protests. The people that are looting and smashing in they're not protesting. They're opportunists. They're thugs. They're scum. How can looting ever be considered any part of a protest? Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people out there that are protesting peacefully. They're maintaining social distance. They're doing everything right. And those are the people that we should plaster over the news. Not yet again sort of advertise the badness. It propagates. People, that's exactly what we saw here in the UK. It started in London. This was, it must have been about 5-7 years ago, the London riots now. But it started in London, and it was very isolated in London to begin with. And then each night the boroughs started catching on, and then it moved up to Manchester and Liverpool. And I entirely, obviously the ultimate blame lies with the fuckwits that think it's okay to go and do something like that. But the media was not faultless. The media was advertising to the whole country, as is what is happening out in the US at the moment, that look, all of these people are smashing in windows and grabbing all this stuff, and it's just a big billboard to any piece of scum that wants to join in. Oh wait, it's happening all over the country, and I'm missing out. Let's go out and do it. Show the good side of things. Show the people stood there calmly and sensibly with their AR-15s protecting businesses, and show that there are a number of towns that you really, really don't want to go into and go and loot. And go and show the peaceful protesters. I don't care what people protest about, what views they have. Everyone should be allowed to voice their views. Everyone should be able to protest on things that they feel are important to them. So I'm not going to get into the rights and wrongs of say what's going on. I'm personally, I would rather avoid that. Certainly on a live stream, I'm very likely to say something that I'm going to regret. But in terms of the looters, in terms of the thugs, people destroying, and this is the crazy thing, is like it's black people's businesses as well. There was one guy that had saved up. This black guy, he had saved up, had just about finished this restaurant or bar that he had, sort of put his life savings in, and it got torched by supposed Black Lives Matter protesters. They're not protesters, they're thugs. And that's exactly what happened in London. It wasn't about Mark Duggan. It was opportunists that wanted to go out and get rowdy, get up to no good. And it's exactly what happened with the student riots as well. I think they came after the Mark Duggan riots, but the student riots, it wasn't students. I went down there. I was studying in London at the time. It was over the summer, but I was there that day. And I went down to Westminster to go and see it. And I'm like, well, he's 45. He's 35 at best. She's in her 60s. And of course, there are mature students. But there were far too many mature students there for it to be a student riot. And it wasn't. It was these low lifes that have nothing better to do than to go out and cause chaos for people. So, yeah, I love the fact. I love the fact that in some of these towns, it's wall to wall with people exercising their Second Amendment right out there. Because you don't see many looters where there are loads of legally armed civilians. It's really funny how that works. Although I did see one video in Texas of all places. I mean, could you pick a worse state to go riot in? And they're systematically, and this is the thing, is it's not necessarily random. They were systematically going shop to shop, smashing in a window, going in, seeing anything valuable, coming out into the next window. And probably about 3 or 4 windows in, they picked the wrong window. And all you could hear was bap, 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 and everyone absolutely running. But it worked. They didn't go into that shop, did they? They might have smashed the window initially, but they certainly didn't go any further. So yeah, I am aware of it. Obviously, sort of self-defense here, in the UK and my previous predicaments, let's just say, I don't feel necessarily 100% comfortable talking in great detail about it. I do find it a shame. I should be able to voice my opinions on it without fear that they're going to be used against me. But anyway, that's sort of my. I did think that it was going to come up tonight, and that's sort of, what I want to say on the matter. If you've got any questions, don't be offended. If you've asked any questions and I don't answer them, please don't be offended. There's just some things that I'd rather not lead myself, paths I'd rather not lead myself down, if that makes sense. Matt Gibbo, currently working on a shock counter that sits on the side of my rifle and counts how many rounds I have left. That's cool. I've seen the magazines. I've seen the electronic magazines that count. I'd be really interested in that. If you happen to be local, once you get that done, if you want to come down to Bluefield Sports and show us that, we'd be very interested in seeing that. I mean, obviously, with Magload, we love developing and learning about new products and things coming out. But if you guys don't know, my actual career background before going full-time into the shooting industry was actually as an electronic engineer. So I was a hardware design engineer. So, stuff like that, really, that's my jam. So yeah, I used to design all sorts of PCBs and housings and various devices and electronics. I've completely lost where I was with the comments now. That's absolutely fantastic. Where are we? So again, guys, oh no, I found it. D-Man, have you seen them using long bows at club? Do you think they would allow compound bows as well? Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what club that you're at. I mean, I know that the playground that Neil shoots on, Neil from Rack and Load, where he does a lot of his videos, I think, excuse me, he does all of his sort of range reviews videos. They actually it's a playground with an axe throwing centre as well. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends on a club to club basis. James Ford, just have a question. Do you recommend I join a rifle club before applying for 303 on my license? I already have a 2.2 long rifle and 1.7 HMR for pest control on our farm. However, I aren't a member of a club. Yeah, unless you're going to put down the 303 for hunting, which I think an FEO is going to see straight through that. Yes, you're going to need to be able to justify that. Unless you have a genuine hunting requirement for a 303, you're going to have to join a club. There's you're just not going to be able to justify it to your FEO otherwise. So you guys were talking, just caught up some comments about talking about handling guns, and it's RBA Grizzly. It's stopping you from exercising your rights as a gun person. Unfortunately, in the UK, as a gun person, you have no rights. It is the way it is in our law here. It's a privilege to own a gun. There's no rights. I know a load of people are now going to quote the Bill of Rights. Unfortunately, that's, in my understanding of UK law, that's been superseded. We don't have the right anymore. I am guilty of maybe propagating that rumour, or propagating the rumour a little bit more, because I always say that it's sort of your right to have a shotgun. And that's sort of true. So basically, when you apply for your SGC, you don't have to, so your shotgun certificate, you don't have to provide good reason. So technically, if an FEO comes around your house and they go, so why do you want a shotgun license? You can quite literally go, no, because I want one. That you don't have to provide a reason. The police have to give a reason why you're not fit. Unlike a firearm certificate, where you do have to provide good reason, just like I was saying with that 303. You have to show them and demonstrate that you have good reason to have that firearm. Where with a shotgun, it's sort of, if you want to get a shotgun license, anyone can go and get a shotgun license. There's no prerequisites to it, as long as you're a person of good character. You don't have any mental health issues. You've got safe storage, adequate storage. They can't say no, basically. Stephen Emery, thanks for joining. Yes, I have received your emails. This has been part of the busy sort of week or two that we've had. It's been like non-stop, absolutely non-stop. And maybe that's a nice segue into what I'm going to talk about, because there's some really exciting stuff going on with Magload. But yes, I have your email marked. I keep, every time I get to go start writing on it, I get pulled off for something else, or another email comes in, and I will get back to you. I do really appreciate it, and I say this to you guys all the time. I do my absolute best to get back to every single one of you that emails or messages. It might take me a little bit of time sometimes, because I don't, I've sent emails into YouTubers before, and when you get a one word or one line response back, it's like, well, thanks for the effort. I do like to really, give the time to each message and email, which is probably why it takes me so long to reply to all of them. But yes, Stephen, thanks for your email. I will get back to you. So Jerry McCann, do you think I'm better getting a gun safe and fit it before I apply for my FAC or SGC? Absolutely. I know plenty of people that have gone for their license with their safe literally left on the floor. Whereas what might happen is you have your interview, and then you book another, if your safe's not ready for inspection, you might have to book another appointment for them to come out so that they can check your safe. Now, usually in that scenario, what happens is that your FEO will bring your certificate round. So, they deliver the certificate, check your safe first, and go, right, yeah, there's your certificate, fill your boots. But it's just a potential hold up. You don't, during the application process, you don't want to do anything that is likely to hold it up. It's long enough in some counties as it is. So get everything done you can beforehand. It really doesn't take that long. It might take you 20 minutes or so, drill some holes into the wall, get it bolted in, get it done first, then you can get everything done during your interview. But if for money or time constraints, you don't have to have it in place, but it will potentially hold it up later down the line. Smerald, when are you making your own LBP? Maybe soon. We'll see. So I've been talking about this exciting news. This is going to get really boring for anybody that isn't interested in engineering or machinery or CNC or stuff like that. But Magload has just purchased a very, very large CNC turning center, and it's a bit of a beast. proper like. I'm I don't know. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but this thing came from an aerospace company. It's used to being able to do phenomenal tolerances, but also it is a full production machine. And for those of you that don't know what, like say, a CNC lathe is or a turning center, basically usually you have a spindle, you have stock bar that comes out of it, so usually a rod. And basically a cutter will usually come in and cut things. So things like charging handles for shotguns, that's all done on a CNC lathe. But this machine that we're getting actually has 2 spindles, which has various advantages. So basically it can actually pass the parts between spindles, which means you can do, in sort of one operation, you can do sort of more work to that part. And also it's got something called live tooling, so it actually, the tools will work as a mill, so you can come in. So usually with a lathe you have a static tool and it just brushes against the metal and sort of moves it away, where this can come in and do some some milling on that part while it's on the spindle. It's absolutely insane. It's a very, very big step for Magload. It's scaring the absolute bejesus out of Connors and I, because when these things go wrong, they get very, very, very expensive. But it's the next step. So there's loads and loads of products in the pipeline that are now, well, the machine's basically due to be fitted on Friday. That might change. So that's why Magload isn't at the moment make a big song and dance about it. So I thought I'd treat you guys to a bit of insider information. But yeah, it's due to be delivered on Friday. Should be set up and running by the end of the day of Friday. We don't know how long it's going to take yet to really get to grips with it and get production parts off of it, but things like safeties, charging handles, chokes even, barrels to a certain extent. I mean, obviously you can't I don't know, Connors is much more clued. I'm an electronic engineer, not a mechanical engineer, so my knowledge is limited on things like that. But yeah, pretty much anything circular within a gun, takedown pins, anti-walk pins, nuts, so adapter nuts for anything, muzzle brakes. I know Connors is incredibly proud of the 3D printed muzzle brake. That's not going anywhere, but we will now have the capability to do full metal muzzle brakes, moderators. So Daniel, when are you going to be making your own LBP? Well, with this bit of machinery, we're certainly one massive step closer. So really exciting times. It's part of the reason that we've both been so busy. We went to view the machine last Friday, I think it was. Who's that? That might be Connors telling me to shut up. Nope. But yeah, so we went to view it, I think it was last Friday. Managed to get the guy down on cost, which was not an easy job. He did play hardball with us, but got the price we wanted in the end of the, well, close to the price we wanted. We did sort of go a little bit over, but sort of we had sort of maximum budgeted, like basically sell our kidneys and livers to be able to make it up. But yeah, just very exciting. I know you guys are probably like, but it's all going to be documented. I like showing the sort of behind the scenes of everything that goes on, and yes, I know a lot of it is very pluggy for Magload or Blue Field Sports, but it's what pays the bills. So, but I know a lot of you are also interested in sort of the design process, and I get so many questions as well about how to get into the shooting industry, how like a shooting company runs, or a shop runs, or like Magload runs. So I like to try and mix it up and show you as many different aspects as possible. But yeah, we will be making a video the first time. I mean, the Project M2 that we have is in dire need of a charging handle. I keep on stealing the enlarged charging handle from the Stoger M3000 and putting it in. So as soon as I got one of those off the machine, I'm going to be showing all of you guys. But yeah, maybe at some point I'll do a full tour. I think I've been telling you guys for like 2 years I'm going to be doing a full tour of this place. It is pretty big, so maybe I'll just pull my finger out and get on with that. But anyway, yeah, really, really excited. I know it might be boring for you guys, but it's like, well, it's both exciting and terrifying for Connors and I, but it's you know, it's what we need to do to sort of move the company forward and grow. So we are excited nonetheless. Ricardo O'Brien, if you were to build a range on land you own for the purposes of starting a shooting club, do you need to inform the council and local firearms officers? So this is like sort of a can of worms question. So, but basically in terms of noise, in terms of disruption and running a business, you're allowed, I think it's 24 days a year. So the playground that is actually run on, or run here, it's shut during the winter because of the crap weather, and it's only open during the summer. So it's, you know, they don't go anywhere near the 24 days. Game shoots as well, I believe, unless there's sporting rights. I think the sporting rights give you some protection on that. But yeah, if you're doing something only up to 24 days a year, no one can stop you to doing it. If you're, you know, even if you have, you know, 500 shooters descend on your range and make as much noise as possible, yes, people can, I guess in some cases, you know, justifiably complain, but there's little that the council or the police can actually do as long as you're not doing it more than 24 days a year. So when you say a shooting club, if you mean a Home Office approved club, there are all sorts of criteria in terms of insurance, in terms of the safety of the range, the construction of the range, the licensing of the range. It really is quite difficult to say start up your own club. Connors has done it and is very clued up on that process. So, and don't worry, there's not some secret club that you guys don't know about. This was his university. He actually founded the Brighton University shooting club. So, you know, he's very clued up on it, but it is very in depth. However, if you want to open up a mini rifle range, there is actually no definition of what a mini rifle range is. So as long as you're only shooting guns up to .23 caliber, and it's purely a mini rifle range, and you're not worried about Home Office approval, and you just want people to come and shoot some 2.2 long rifle, semi-automatic rifles or something like that, then you don't need approval. You know, it is advisable, unlike the full metal jacket ranges, it's advisable that you build the range to a high standard, that you look at, say, the NRA or the NSRA guidance, or even the MOD guidance on range building, and that's actually what Alex did here. So the private range that we have here, it's built to all of the sort of top specifications that you get from the NRA, NSRA, or the MOD. So, you know, Hampshire did challenge it, and he was like, well, first of all, it's not your job. You know, you know, the Hampshire, you know, firearms departments are not there for health and safety. They're there for the licensing of firearms, and it's not a firearms offence if the range is dangerous. So it gets very, very murky in that situation. But yeah, mini rifle range is probably what I would advise. If you're thinking of starting up a club, start with a mini rifle range. There's a lot less restrictions. It's a lot easier, a lot more straightforward to get into as well. And then once you've sort of cut your teeth on that, I would then say move on to a Home Office approved club, and hopefully by that point you'll have a little bit more experience, a little bit more knowledge on what you should be doing. And yeah, and again, that's part of the reason that if you're ever going to build a range, build it to the highest specification you can, because if you ever want to expand, you know, the range is already fit to be able to do that. I mean, when Alex built the range here, he did only build it for himself and for maybe the occasional customer to go down there. But, you know, with Connors and I turning up, the range gets a hell of a lot more use than I think he ever intended. But because he built it to the standard that he did, it's more than capable of withstanding all that. So, hey, just wondering, reached out to you 2 weeks ago after a stream about your website, never got back to me. I think, were you good? Oh yeah, I've just had your emails come through. I will, you know, I'll mark them now because I'm in the website, in my emails, but I'm pretty sure I did reply to you. I'm sorry if I didn't. I do remember you messaging. So, well, I obviously didn't, or maybe check your junk folder. maybe it might be in there. But if for whatever reason I wasn't able to get back to you, I'm sorry about that. CA Elite, have you ever considered doing some car videos? I know you mentioned it in some of your old videos. I take it you don't have a shooting truck you run alongside your Honda. No, that's sort of the reason that I always like. I do want to do a video on the car. Time restraints, like at the end of the day, it's a shooting channel, so if I can only make a gun video or a car video, I'm always going to go for the gun video. I do want to make a video of the car, but then I always get I get really close to it and I think, but it's not a shooting car, like it's it's a Honda. So yeah, and I'm sure we've had car conversation. There's enough of you guys that are cars, and if you don't like the video, don't click on it. So I will get round to doing it eventually. But yeah, I don't have some sort of shooting truck. I'd love a Defender, but I'd love, actually, my sort of dream 4x4, as it were, maybe a Lamborghini Urus, if you count that as a proper 4x4, or the Range Rover SVR. That's an acceptable 4x4 to me. Like, yes, it's still huge, but it's fast. Funnily enough, I don't know if I've said this story before, but it was a Range Rover SVR, which is the reason I ended up going and buying the Honda Civic, because I used to have a Clio Sport. I came to a set of lights with an SVR, sort of saw it was a Range Rover. I was like, that like, I've got this thing, and it just rocketed off the line, and I was like, okay, the Clio's done for me now. I just got beaten by a Range Rover in an off, what do they call it? Traffic light drag strip or whatever. And yeah, I was like, I need a faster car. I am not being beaten by a Range Rover on a lights out, traffic light race or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, ended up very shortly going and buying the Type R. And then funnily enough, it's actually 0 to 60 still not quicker than the SVR, but I think from a rolling starter, maybe I might have a bit of a better chance. But anyway, yeah, I do want like a Defender project car or something. But we'll see how that goes. Callum would need a booster steps if he ever bought a truck. I will ban you, Dan. I will. I get out of Alex has a Range Rover. I get in and out of that fine. I mean, if I drive it, I do have to put the seat up and forward and the steering wheel. Actually, that's a funny story. I borrowed it. I can't remember what it was for, but I borrowed it for the weekend, and I was adjusting the seats, and where obviously wasn't very familiar with it, I'd moved the seat forward and moved it up. I'd moved the steering wheel out, and I was very comfortable with it. And in adjusting it, I unfortunately saved over Alex's memory on the seat. So guess what happened? Alex gets into the car, presses his memory, which is now set to my short little legs and torso, and nearly gets crushed by the steering wheel and the seat. And he was like, "Yeah, next time tell me if you've accidentally overridden my my memory on the seat." But yeah, I do love the Range Rover. The Range Rover is a much different type of driving. Like in, say, the Clio Sport or the Type R, it's like go. Like you can't drive those cars sort of smoothly. It's like everything is just reactionary and very visceral. The brakes are sharp, the steering's tight, the seats hug you, and the ride is very, very hard on them. But the Range Rover, you sort of get in and you end up I end up putting the seat further back to how I'd normally have it, and you just start to get a bit more comfortable, and you put the armchair armrest down, and during the winter, heated steering wheel. During the summer, you put the cool seats on, and you just sort of cruise. Like you don't feel tempted to speed in a Range Rover. You just sort of waft along the road. And I would, whilst I absolutely love driving sort of fast cars, or as sort of as fast as you would define a Type R to be or a Clio Sport to be. You know, there is a nice thing of just being able to sort of relax. And borrowed, very thankfully borrowed the, gratefully even, borrowed the Range Rover to go up to the Lake District with my girlfriend last year at some point. And bearing in mind, you know, from effectively Portsmouth up to the Lake District, that's a hell of a journey. And I got there, like, absolutely fine. Like, no fatigue, no aches, I wasn't tired, I just felt really, really good. And that's the power of a Range Rover, isn't it? But screw the running costs on them, that's for sure. K22 versus a PPQ video. Yes, that is. I do very much have planned a top 5 long barrel pistol video, with obviously the Shield SO1 coming out, and you know, hopefully soon the Amtrak Zenith from Cotswold Classic Arms. You know, I keep putting it off because I really want those guns to be fully released before I do a top 5 video on long barrel pistols. But as you can see, we have a selection already. You've got the Buttmark, the Glock, the Walther PPQ. There's a Gen 1 Mark 1 GSG in the shop as well. It might even be on Alex's personal license. And the 1911, the Walther 1911, obviously the CZ, say clones, copies. So yeah, there's a lot to pick from, and we have a fair selection here. I do keep asking Alex very nicely to get a K22 in as well, because you know that predates the Glock and the PPQ, and many people use the K22 as a great competition gun. I can't really fault it in terms of its performance in competition. From what I've seen, I've just never particularly liked them that much. Certainly much prefer the PPQ, but for a very long time it was either GSG or it was K22. With now a little bit more selection, I don't think the K22 has the same sort of standing as it once did. But yeah, I mean, K22 versus PPQ video, if I can get hold of a K22, Ben Ducker I know does have one, and I think he was saying that he was moving away from it, or is looking to sell it. So if he doesn't mind, might be able to get that down on loan for a week or so, and do a video on it. So yeah, that is one that is on my list to review for sure. And the top 5 video is something that I do want to do. Daniel Smerrill, did I leave my owl with you? No, never seen the owl. Gone now, mate. Sorry. Yeah, it's in the container with all of your other mound of goodies. When are you going to do a WML video? WML? What do you mean by WML? WMR? I don't, WML. Am I missing something? Am I being stupid? Wouldn't be the first time. Callum, RE weight shaving. Have you ever held a GPC TR02? It weighs more than a regular American truck. Let's have a little look at that then. Yeah, looks like a bit of a beast. I mean, I guess that is like a long range AR rather than a. Is it? Maybe it's practical. Don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, where we're very limited within our laws here, what we can and can't own, there are areas of guns where I am completely just not equipped, you know, in sort of understanding and knowledge. UK for the win. Where were we? There we go. John Fuller PPQ all the way. I mean, yes. I mean, if you want my, talking about the K22 versus the PPQ. Wait, were you just talking in terms? Oh yeah, you're saying a video. But if you want my quick review of it, PPQ. I mean, I always advise with any gun, don't take somebody else's word as gospel. Take it as advice and treat it as such, because what somebody gets on really, really well with, somebody else might absolutely hate. So, always try and get as many guns into your hands as possible. Certainly for the likes of shotguns, and certainly for the likes of pistol, rifles, you can usually, get them to fit you. You can usually get them, make them work for you. But if, say, like an under and over or side by side shotgun or a pistol is just off for you from the start, it's usually very, very hard to then hone it into something that you're going to be sort of proficient with. But yeah, PPQ for me, I love the ergonomic grip of it. I find the lightweight, and it being very, very nimble. It's incredibly reliable, and will run pretty much anything. Now, this was the one that I dropped earlier, so I really hope it's not gonna. Oh, that's under. No, I'm chickening out. I'll go for the water instead. It's not I have no problem making an absolute fool of myself, covering myself in Pepsi, but it's all of the electronic equipment that I'm currently sat in front of, and the fact that I'm in the gun room and don't want to spend the rest of my evening mopping up Pepsi from every orifice. I did, I'm having a bit of a spillage day, which is probably why I should take a sip and put the lid back on this. I had a bit of a vaping incident, so yes, I am one of those dirty vapors, and that's the juice of choice that I have. But they have these funny little tops, and this is the first time that I've had it, and I was filling up. Well, don't want to drip it. I was filling it up upside down, applying a bit of pressure, and I thought after wearing the exact same top 2 weeks in a row, I thought I'd made a purposeful effort to wear something that wasn't as raggedy as David Kiddle says it is, and ended up, trying to fill up the vape, bottle exploded, and I don't know if I'll point it out now, but I don't know if you can see I'm covered in vape juice. So purposely, made sure I had a clean, tidy top on and covered myself in vape juice, and my jeans are even worse. They are very suspicious stains on the jeans. So yeah, luckily I'm going to be going straight home and not seeing anyone on the way. But it's just typical, isn't it? That's why I'm not pushing my luck with that Pepsi. It will be sod's law that it just erupts everywhere. But I'll wait until after the stream until I can I'll open that outside and see how covered I get. Daniel Smerald, you really like getting me to play with fire, don't you? Speaking of political incidents, today marks Killdozer and the redacted Chinese protests. Yeah. I mean, neither of which, well, yeah, that's going to get very Second Amendment self-defense very quickly. So, moving swiftly on. Do we have any Remington 78322 packages in stock? Not at the moment. I think we do have a 700 available. Bluefield Sports is a raid trade stockist and dealer, approved dealer. So if you want to get one in, happy to get one in for you. Everything's pretty much running smoothly now. Getting deliveries from all of the major suppliers, including the likes of GMK. So yeah, if there's something that you want to get in, happy to help you. And of course, we do stock form rifle stocks as well if you're thinking of upgrading the stock on that. And I believe they do have. I think it's the 783 that they've just released a new stock for, so or maybe I wasn't meant to say that. Anyway, RBA Grizzly, but we don't have guns in Texas. Oh yes, because you lost them all in that big boating accident, didn't you? Daniel asking for updates on his Delisle. Speak to Connors. I don't know why you keep doing this. You keep wanting me to update you on what other people are doing. If you want an update on the Delisle, ask Connors. He's the one working on it. He's trying his best. Again, since coronavirus, since the lockdown is sort of loosening a little bit, and businesses are getting back together, and people are going out and shooting more. It's picked back up. We sort of enjoyed the couple of months of sort of slower. I mean, we're still shipping orders and orders were still coming in, but obviously, no one was coming to the gun shop, no one was going to the range, and we sort of had this bit of a breather, and it's just stepped right back up again. But yeah, he will get round to it. And once we've got this machine, Daniel, if there's any parts that Connors might have been struggling to manufacture for you, he should easily be able to knock them out on the Harding. So we'll wait and see. But if you want an update, ask the man that's doing it. Ask the evil genius. So Nitsa, the 416 HK made by Walther has been discontinued. Is there any other 2.2 in the AR platform that has a 12-inch barrel? I think the Tippmanns do. Let's have a look. I think it's Shooting Supplies is the UK distributor for them. Let's have a look on their website quickly. Tippmann, I believe they do. It's the S, because they do the S and the L, and I'm pretty sure the S is a 12-inch. Yeah, 12-inch barrel. So if you want an AR-15, I mean, it's not, the Tippmann isn't a full mil spec, but thanks to Maglo, there are a number of upgrades available for it. So the Tippmann is a 12-inch. I mean, you can get 12-inch barrels for the 1522, although I'm currently pointing to a 16-inch one. The only one that is a 12-inch is actually not here, and I can't go and get it, unfortunately. But places like Black Rifle, they sell shortened barrels for the 1522. Caliber Innovations, I'm sure, would happily speak to David Kiddle. I'm sure he would happily build you a 12-inch barrel AR-15. Wayne from North Custom Parts, Otto from from Cotswold Classic Arms. Here, build you one. So, you know, if you're looking for an off-the-shelf, say, clone, nothing comes to my head or my mind instantly, but there's certainly a lot of other options in AR-15 that you can go and get, which are 12-inch, as I've just said. So plenty of variety. Go and speak to any of those guys. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you out. Harry Elmore, any more plans for Action Air videos? Are you doing the indoor competition on the UK PSA site? Unfortunately not. I was going to do that, but you know, where I've been having to come into work, you know, where I'm self-employed, if there's no one here to run the business doesn't run. You know, we've maintained social distancing the whole time, and you know, Magload for a while was producing a lot of PPE, and it's slowed down a little bit now, the demand for it for the local hospitals, but you know, so I guess classify as essential workers. So I didn't have as much time sort of sat at home sort of looking for things to do, so I didn't end up doing that indoor competition. I know I did say to you guys that I was going to make like a stage in the garden. I did in the end think better of that, because whilst I could have done something, I was very nervous about sending BBs over the fence, and I just thought that maybe if a neighbour saw it, they might have an issue. They might have an issue with it. But oh dear, things are going bad. Am I still there? Am I still around? So one thing that I really messed up on for the stream, if you guys can still hear me, it seems to be, well, it says you might be experiencing